One of them put it very succinctly to me just after I think it was after the first Netflix show came out. They said, William fucking hates them, and that to me, I mean, it was just like, that is
Yeah.
basically the bottom line.
Breaking today, Prince Harry is on his way back to London, unfortunately. A visit confirmed next month for the Well Child Awards, but there will be no Meghan Markle by his side. There will be no Archie and Lilibet. However, there is the tantalising prospect, if you're Team Sussex, for a meeting with King Charles. Tom Sykes reporting in his Royalist Substack today, a meeting with his brother Prince William is considered vanishingly unlikely. Sources close to Harry admitting to the Royalists they simply had no idea whether the two men would meet in regards to Charles. A meeting could mark the first steps to reconciliation after 5 years of bad feeling between Harry and the royal family since he left the institution in 2020 and embarked on a series of interviews, memoirs, and films that drove a wedge between them. Bizarrely, Charles's cancer could once again play a part in building bridges between father and son, Tom Sykes reports. Although he is customarily based in Scotland at this time of year for his summer holiday, Charles has been undergoing cancer treatment at a clinic on Harley Street in London, and his sessions have typically taken place on Mondays. The Royalist understands Harry will be in London on a Monday, meaning there is at least logistical overlap. That said, that does not guarantee a meeting. When Harry travelled to London last year for a Thanksgiving service linked to the Invictus Games, Charles was also in the capital, but no meeting took place. At the time, Harry issued a sharp statement saying he had wanted to meet his father, but the king had other priorities. So, Tom, the big question: why would King Charles do that? Why would he put himself in the position? I mean, with the so-called peace summit, just a few weeks ago, the moment it happened, it was all leaked, which went completely against the whole purpose of it. So do you think Charles will see Harry, who clearly does want some FaceTime with his dad when he's in London? If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address, and sign up today.
I think that Charles, because he's built his whole reputation and his whole shtick, if you like, is I'm a convener. I'm a bringer together of people. That's my role. I bring people together. Well, there's a bit of a tension there if you're not talking to your own son and you can't knock a few heads together when you're the King of England and get your boys to behave in front of the camera. And do you know what I mean? So that's one perspective on it. I actually do not think they will meet. I genuinely don't know. Even people very close to Harry genuinely do not know, because it's not really up to Harry, right? It's up to the king. I just don't think they will meet. And I'll tell you the reason I don't think they will meet is because we remember when Charles was preparing to take over from Elizabeth, right? He was allowed to basically run the show for the last 10 years or so, more or less. I would say about the last 10 years. The major decisions were his. The big slimming down of the royal family that began, that was all Charles. That was all spearheaded by Charles. Queen Elizabeth did not think it was a good idea. She thought it was a lovely idea, having everybody on the balcony. But Charles was allowed because he was taking over and it was understood. So I think Charles, to be fair to the man, is allowing the same thing with William. I think Charles accepts that, his reign is going to be over in 10 years. He has cancer. He's getting weekly treatment at the London clinic on Harley Street. Charles accepts, I think, that, he's not going to live till he's 99, put it that way, like his father did. And so I think William's views have to be taken into account. How it was explained to me by a source was that Charles can't bequeath William a settlement with Harry that William can't live with, So at the moment, Charles is obviously the representative of the royal family. He's the head of the family. He is the monarchy. He's the crown. If he offers peace terms to Harry and then dies next week, then it leaves William in a really, really, really terrible situation because William doesn't want to go back on his word. William feels completely betrayed. He, blames Harry for all the stress. And, there's even, obviously lots of people believe cancer is a partially stress-related disease. Certainly, stress doesn't make cancer any better. And so I think that Charles himself, his instinct, of course, as any father, his instinct would be to see his son and say, oh, of course, all right, don't worry about it. Let's all get together and have a nice Christmas lunch or what have you. I just don't think he can go over William's head in that way. Things are very tense between William and Charles. You don't read a lot of reporting about this, but
No,
the
you don't.
relationship between William and Charles is not great.
And it always has been tense.
It always has been. They do things very, very differently, beginning from the concept of divine right. Charles believes that in the divine rights of kings and that he's been put on earth to be king. William thinks that's a load of rubbish and is just, believes he's been handed the job by, Lucky Sperm Club or whatever you want to call it. And he's got to make the best of it and do the best he can with the position that he's been gifted. And it just goes down from there, William thinks that Charles is there's way too much focus on the ermine and the purple robes. There's a fantastic picture about 6 months ago of William with his robes and his ermine at the Order of the Bath, scowling like this as he was forced into his ermine and his robes. And Charles never happier than when in a lovely military naval #1 suit with his magnificent sword, channeling Louis Mountbatten. But, William just thinks it's load rubbish. And William, as far as I can tell, seems quite happy for the footprint of the royal family to be reduced and to be lessened and diminished, and just wants quiet life and a normal family life and to play rounders with his kids. And I mean, I think it's a massive mistake, and I think they'll probably, come to regret it. I don't really think that the king should be doing the school run myself, but there we are. That's just my opinion. Lots of people disagree with me, and they're welcome to disagree with me.
But Tom, you're reporting on. I mean, to give some background, I mean, you have an aristocratic background, history, family history yourself.
I was expelled from Eton, Dan. So, yeah.
Were you?
I was.
That is brilliant. So you're reporting on William and how he really feels about Harry has been completely without parallel, right? You've just got it so spot on over the last months and years. But can you just spell it out? Because I think a lot of people, and certainly the mainstream media, don't talk about just how much William really now does despise Harry, just how much he expects Harry to be exiled for the rest of his life. But you speak to a lot of friends of William who paint to you in such colourful terms exactly how he feels. But can you just sort of spell
totally
out your reporting on this?
Well, have you got the bleep button ready, Dan?
You can say anything here. You can say anything here. Go for it.
One of them put it very succinctly to me just after I think it was after the first Netflix show came out. They said, William fucking hates them, and that to me, I mean, it was just like, that is basically the bottom line. It's really, really, really awful because they were incredibly close. And of course, the way we know this is because of all the tapes that were released during Leveson. So we've heard all their conversations, we've heard them taking the mick, teasing each other. Oh, all those hilarious tapes. I mean, God, they should have bloody released them. They're the best PR ever, Oh, Harry, you're the most lovely ginger that I've ever known. It's Chelsea here. And of course, it's William pretending to be, and there's such repartee and friendship amongst them, and people who I knew who knew them at Eton. William was incredibly protective of Harry. And they were these two kids alone in the world in this completely unique shared experience. very strange relationship with their father, who has tried to reinvent himself as lovely avuncular grandfather to the world, to the nation, but was very cold and offhand, and went off to play polo, after Harry was born. And they had this incredible bond, and they all, I mean, they completely blame Meghan. They completely blame Meghan for what happened.
For good
They
reason, I think.
I think that it actually, I think that it was in Harry, and I think that Meghan brought it out. But I think the resentment and the anger was inside him, and I think there's also probably huge PTSD with what happened to his mother, and the appalling way that Charles dealt with the aftermath of his mother. As I said, Harry writes about really incredibly lyrically in Spare. And I've never been I've always tried to be fair to Harry and Meghan, and to William and Kate. And I can tell that I'm doing the right thing, because I get equal amounts of hate mail from both sides telling me that I'm in the pay of the other one. So and I do think that, but I do think that the rift between the two brothers, I'm afraid now, is not, it's not solvable. It's not solvable.
Exactly.
You cannot go on television and accuse your brother's wife of being a racist and expect it just to blow over. You can't. You
No,
can't write a book saying that your brother's wife is a bitch because she wouldn't lend your wife some lip gloss, and expect everyone to just go, ah, it's just Harry. He's a bit of a scamp, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like, you
no,
can't.
it was a
It's
red
gone too
line.
far.
It was a red
And
line, and he crossed it. And what's so interesting, and why I love your reporting, actually, we should talk a little bit about this, because obviously the nuts and bolts of how it works, how this whole royal reporting thing works, is very interesting. And certainly on my part, I've never been part of the Royal Rota. I've never been part of any of those official groups or anything like that. So I've always had full independence, and it was very, very helpful when Meghan and Harry were in the royal family, because it just meant I could report what was really going on, and obviously it resulted in Megxit. But there is such an attempt to control the royal reporters, and very recently, because you have been reporting the truth of what's going on, not sticking to the narrative, being prepared to reveal that Charles is going through this very serious incurable cancer. And of course, that's something that really divides people. And there's a lot of people who watch my channel, Tom, who hate the fact that I talk about it, who think that Charles should have complete privacy in regards to his health. That's not something that I personally agree with. But you have pretty much been like thrust out of the official royal circles by the King's communications secretary, Tobin Andre. What's happened there?
yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to lie to you. It's really inconvenient, but I was in this, rota, whatever, what is basically degenerated into being a WhatsApp group that they put out their PR on. But it used to be kind of helpful because it had kind of interesting operational stuff, or you knew where to be, or you knew half an hour before something was coming out that it was coming out. And I wrote a story the other day that just said that Charles had incurable cancer. I mean, that's it. And on the basis that it was tasteless, I was kicked out of this group, and now I'm not going to get access to any briefings about London Bridge and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, look, it's their remit to do what they want, and I don't really care. I've been doing the job for 17 years. I've been writing about the Royals for about 17 years. It's not it's not going to bother me. It's not like I was hanging on every word from Tobin to write my next story. But um, you know, when it first happened, I thought that it was just because he'd had a temper tantrum and thrown his toys out the pram. But actually, what I then realized, because they then did it they then threatened the Telegraph with it.
Mm. Because the
And
Telegraph ran
I,
this story, just in case people have forgotten, they ran the story about Charles's funeral plan specifically with this line, which I'm sure probably didn't delight Prince William, that Harry and Meghan have been put at the heart of Charles's funeral
yeah.
plans.
And I mean, where do you think that briefing came from? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the irony of the whole thing. It's like, I mean, it didn't come from Harry's side. Let's put it that way. But what I actually realized was that, because then I was talking to another journalist about a story, and they said, "Oh, have you been kicked out of the international rota?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I realized that actually they were just using me as like a sort of, if you dare to report on the fact that Charles has got cancer and that plans are being made for his funeral and that he's going to die, and if you dare write about Charles in any other way than as if he's like a guest at a dinner party or something and he's got a mild cold, this will happen to you. So, and
Yeah.
I think, I
But
just think
this
it's
is so
pathetic. But I
important for
mean,
people to know how it works, Tom, because when I launched Outspoken, one of my promises was I will deliver exclusives that the Royal Rota won't. And maybe you can't blame the Royal Rota. They work in a very particular way. But a lot of people often ask me, Dan, why is the Daily Mail and the Daily Telegraph and the Mirror and the Sun, why are they taking this particular angle on a story, or why are they ignoring this story that we all know is happening, or why are they pretending something isn't wrong and we know it is? And this is why, because unfortunately it is sort of like a big
you
PR
ain't get access.
operation, which means
Well,
you
just be
lose
cut
your
off
access.
And
And I think
what
even with the
really annoyed
Palace
me,
move, oh sorry, you go.
yeah, no, I was just going to say, Dan, like when you and I were starting off in our careers, if the Palace had tried to do something like that, if they tried to say, you can't write about this thing that, is common knowledge that we briefed you about, you know, do you know what the rest of Fleet Street would have done back in the old days? All the news editors would have gone out for a pint at the pub and they would have said, do you know what? Screw him. Let's all run it tomorrow. And that's what they should have done. They should have all run that story and they should have showed solidarity with the Telegraph. And it's pathetic that they didn't. And it's pathetic that they were browbeaten. I mean, the idea that I thought it was just absolutely, and I mean, hats off to the Telegraph for running the piece in the first place, and they apparently did a massive screaming match, which I've been in the
Yeah.
newsroom, which I would love to have heard. I mean, it's just,
But this is
I
why
thought it
so
was
much is
just,
controlled. And also what we've
yeah.
seen recently over the past sort of month is the Daily Mail really turn on Prince William and Catherine. And what a lot of people don't realize there, Tom, is that, as you alluded to earlier in this interview, actually a lot of this negativity is coming via King Charles's team, because they do brief against Prince William, his own son. Like, that whole situation hasn't been entirely resolved. But first, as I've entered my 40s, aging has become ever present in my life. My body doesn't back up the way it used to, and I've found that it's far easier to get injured when trying to work out, far harder to recover too. But I believe one of the best aging breakthroughs of the last decade is Qualia Senolytic. And I'm going to explain why. Senolytics are a science field revolutionizing human aging. A big culprit behind that middle-aged feeling can be so-called zombie cells that linger in your body after their useful function, wasting your energy and resources. Now, those zombie cells can lead to less energy, slower workout recovery, joint discomfort, and basically feeling old. Now, Qualia Senolytic is a groundbreaking, clinically tested supplement with 9 vegan plant-derived compounds that help your body naturally eliminate these zombie cells, helping you feel years younger in just months. But here's what I absolutely love about this product. You take it just 2 days a month, helping your body naturally eliminate zombie cells to age better at the cellular level. Now, since taking Qualia Senolytic, I've felt like I've turned back the clock. I have higher energy, less soreness after exercise, and a big boost in productivity too. That all equals feeling so much better. So experience the science of feeling younger by going to qualialife.com/Dan for up to 50% off your purchase. Use the code DAN, that's DAN, for an additional 15%. So that's QUALIA life.com/Dan for an extra 15% off your purchase. Your older self will thank you. And by the way, thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode. Now, let's get back to it.
Yeah, I mean, look, things I think went a bit sour when William gave an interview to the Sunday Times saying that he was going to be a much better king than Charles was. I don't think that was a very wise move. Um, I think that also William and Kate have made themselves very easy targets by doing almost nothing, as far as I can tell, for the past 2 years. And I do think the decision not to attend the VJ Day celebrations was unbelievably stupid. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, we get it, guys. We get it. She's had treatment for cancer. You've got young children. You know what? We've all got young children. We've all got kids. We've all got problems. We've all got lives. We've all got bills to pay, but you are actually getting like, I don't know how many weeks summer holiday. I mean, it's got to be 10 weeks by now. And I did feel that it was just an extraordinary decision not to attend it. I mean, look, I think that Harry was very clear in his book, and I do take my hat off to Harry for reporting this, for setting this down. The households brief against each other, the households brief against each other, and it does happen because for whatever reason it happens. But I do think that also I don't think you need a huge amount of briefing against William and Catherine to just say the way they're living is ridiculous. The way they're living is ridiculous. Like, they're public servants, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're taking the public dime.
Yes, although
They're
think
living
the
off the public
Daily
dime, and they're
Mail's
not.
campaign, though, is about the fact that the Sun newspaper was given the story about the move to Forest Lodge when the Daily Mail had been looking into a potential move, and they just like released the attack dogs, and they had Amanda Patel and Liz Jones, and it was all very nasty and very personal. But look, we have to talk about Meghan Markle because this week, With Love Meghan, the second series, although it's not really the second series, is it, Tom? It's sort of like the second half of the first series, has launched. And you're not going to believe this. Apparently, it's number 73 in the Netflix chart, right? So first time around, do you remember it just scraped into the top 10, I think, of the global chart? Look at this. I mean,
oh my God,
Tom, this can't go on, can it? I mean, you have said you don't believe Netflix can keep going with this.
I mean, I don't think they will, but I think that it's all about the Diana documentary. That's the only reason. What, £1 million here, £1 million there, keep a shoot going for an extra few days and pretend it's a second series, pretend it's a holiday special. Maybe they've got next year's holiday special in the can as well. I mean, why not? It's only one extra day, right? The thing is that, like, I mean, it's just, I mean, oh my God, the show is just so crazy. Like, these people turning up. It's like, we're going to meet my very dear new friend. And then he walks in and says, hi, nice to meet you. I mean, it's like, is no one even editing? Is no one even editing this? I mean, it's just like,
and when she asked the guy, oh, did you watch Suits? And he's like, no. I mean, it's like everything went in.
I'm like, take that out, guys, But it really reminded me of the bit in the first season where she goes, oh, I love these bees. They're so amazing. These bees are so incredible. I love bees. Bees, they work as a unit. They're so incredible. And she goes, I really hate honey.
I know. And she's meant to be teaching us things, Tom.
Jokes about honey.
And she's meant to be teaching us things. And every single time, virtually, she says, oh, I've never done this before. It's bizarre. It's like, why not? It's completely nuts. But then she gave this interview, Tom, to Bloomberg. This was really, really bizarre decision too, because Emily Chang runs a YouTube series. I mean, it's hardly like, big. It doesn't do huge numbers, but I guess Meghan's view is that at least she wouldn't be questioned in a tough way. But she does make this ongoing dig about the royal family and the so-called control that she was under when she was in the royal family, specifically this time in regards to nude pantyhose. So I just want to show you what she said and then get the truth from you.
Is there an inherent tension in trying to be relatable while also being a duchess?
No, I don't find, I'm just being myself. So I think probably it was different several years ago where I couldn't be as vocal and I had renewed pantyhose all the time. Let's be honest, that was not very myself. I hadn't seen pantyhose since movies in the 80s when they came in a little egg. That felt a little bit inauthentic, but that's a silly example. But it is an example of when you're able to dress the way you want to dress and you're able to say the things that are true and you're able to show up in the space really organically and authentically. That's being comfortable in your own skin. And that's, of course, had different chapters in my life. But right now, no, I don't feel that I need to prove anything.
So, Tom, it's like that old chestnut is back.
Can I just say that Emily Chang is the most amazing interviewer, because what she did at the beginning of the whole thing, she said, they went to order a coffee and she said, can I have an oatmeal chai latte, please? Right? And thereby instantly, Meghan thought, oh, fine, I can relax. This is just another oatmeal chai latte drinker like me. And then, oh my God, she's so clever the way she asked all those questions. And she actually got quite a lot out of Meghan, I think, in a funny way. Without Meghan, the first time you watch it, you're a bit like, this is a bit soft and meh. But actually, when I sort of watched it again, I was like, she actually got quite a lot out of her. But this thing's extraordinary. I mean, she didn't have to try to get it out of her. Obviously, Meghan had this line ready to go because look, the reality is Meghan's got to do something to get a headline. Do you know what I mean? And this is a great headline. Oh, family forced me to wear pantyhose. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's got the sort of elements of just hinting at that thing of the coercive control, like the passport. Do you remember the made up thing about the passport?
Oh, yeah,
The
she
way
wasn't allowed a
allowed the
passport.
passport and turned out not to be true. And she wasn't allowed to get health for her mental health when she thought she was going to kill herself. So I think it's quite clever. I think Meghan thought she was being very clever by saying that, this was sort of basically another example of coercive control by the palace without actually having to say it and managing to say it in a funny, sort of laughy, jokey kind of way. But I think what's really interesting as well is that it's the only thing that anybody cared about or wrote about. I mean, the American newspapers just haven't written about the new show, but a lot of them have picked up on this line. And it's kind of Meghan's terrible dilemma really now is that they've gone so far down the vengeance thing and so far down the grievance thing that it's actually only when she's talking about her grievances that people can be bothered to
well, indeed.
report on it.
Where does it go now? But actually, just before I get there, I've got to ask you one thing that came up in this interview. Can we please clarify the whole name situation? Because look, if you look at both birth certificates, so the most recent birth certificate, right, is Lilibet's. And even on Lilibet's birth certificate, Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor. And this is what Meghan has to say when she is quizzed by Emily Chang about this claim that her last name is now Sussex. Watch this.
What have you learned about yourself since becoming Sussex?
Well, interesting. What I learned about myself is no matter what my name is or what people call me, I'm still the same person. So that didn't change who I am. And maybe that's probably the biggest distinguishing factor.
Give me a tutorial on royal naming conventions. So, like, are you Meghan Sussex? Are you Meghan Duchess of Sussex?
Mm-hmm.
Is Markle even on your passport anymore? Is it, we don't use that term anymore?
Well, when I got married, I changed my name.
Yeah.
But it's a complicated one for people to understand because a last name is not typical in that construct.
I think we expect a last name, but is that a last name or is that actually
It's not, but
a last
it's used roughly, or loosely rather. It sounds so silly to say, and I get it because I'm American, and then I went there and I started to understand, then you come back, and as an American you go, I'm so confused.
Yeah.
It's a dukedom.
A dukedom, that's a new word for me.
It's a dukedom.
Okay.
So, but that's the truth of it. But at the end of the day, yes, so my legal name is Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. But Sussex, for us, works as our family name. And it's the name that we share with our children. And But yes, since we've been married, that's what I've been called.
But Tom, according to the birth certificates, that isn't accurate unless they have changed the last name.
Yeah. No, they haven't. Their last name is Mountbatten Windsor, and Sussex is like, it's best thought of as a kind of posh nickname.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, you might call yourself Eddie Norfolk to prove that you're the Duke of Norfolk, right? And that name will change as you go through your life, because as you succeed to different levels of your hereditary peerage, the region of land that you are associated with will change as you become more and more grand, right? So lots of people just informally, as a nickname, it's like over the, you know, hundreds of years, have, instead of referring to, and it's a bit of a way of saying, yeah, he's his dad died and he's now the Duke. Do you know what I mean? So they you know, instead of being John Smith, you'd be John Wessex or John Sussex or whatever, but it's just a nickname. It's not her legal surname. Her legal surname is Mountbatten Windsor. But I think what it shows you is how desperately she has to cling to any vestige of royalty, because it's the only thing that anyone cares about. So no one cares if she's, you know, no one really cares if they're Meghan and Harry Mountbatten Windsor.
But no
And
one's
also,
ever going
by
to
the way, the
call
US
her
passports,
Meghan Sussex, though, are they? I mean,
No.
it's always going to
No.
be Meghan Markle.
I mean, there's also nothing more pathetic in English society than complaining about somebody calling you by not using your title. I mean, it's so gauche and naff and like unposh. Like genuine posh people are like, oh, just call me Caroline or whatever. Do you know what I mean? They're not like going, how dare you not call me Meghan Sussex? I mean, it's so gauche and lame.
To her
and
apparent friend,
where can you
wasn't
even
it?
start? Where do you even start with it? And you know, like, it's so funny the way she goes, well, I'll tell you something really interesting, which is not interesting at all. And it's, my name doesn't affect how I feel about myself. But yeah, I'm going to correct everybody and insist that I'm called by this. It's like, oh, make your mind up. Either you do care or you don't
of
care.
course,
Either the royal family are a shower of bastards who you never want to see again, or they're, you know, they're great, or, you know, I don't know. I just think she should just sit down and she should just say, do you know what? Like, I'm really grateful that, you know, I married into the royal family. Queen Elizabeth was amazing. She was amazing. Like a bit like Fergie's done. Do you know? I mean, I think Fergie's actually played it very well, because it all comes across as slightly, you know, slightly inauthentic. But at the end of the day, she just keeps going, Queen Elizabeth was amazing. I worshipped her. I loved her, blah, 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 blah. And it's worked very well for her, let's be honest.
No, it really has. Oh, Tom, it has been so brilliant to have you. As you know, I absolutely love what you're doing on Substack. I'm so passionate about Substack, actually, because for me, this is the future of journalism. I mean, I know you're obviously European editor at large at the Daily Beast, and you can read, you know, your articles on the Daily Beast. Of course you can. But for me, it's like Substack is such an amazing platform. I really love your articles and your analysis. And so I really, really do recommend people sign up. This is it, the Royalist on Substack. And I will recommend it via the Outspoken Substack, which you can get to at www.outspoken.com.
And I'll recommend you back.
Yes, please, please, please. I will do it.
Right,
I don't know if I've done it already, but if not, I'm going to do it now. And then by the time this is on, people will be able to get it. But Tom Sykes, so brilliant to have you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.